We're back for our final Pinal's People of the Year, and our guest today is Casa Grande Mayor Craig McFarland. He has been the mayor of Casa Grande since he was elected in 2016. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure. So, to get started, I always ask our guests that are joining us, for members of our audience who might not be familiar with you and your work, can you share a little bit about your background and your personal story?
Sure. I was born and raised in California and left to go to work for a large Fortune 50 company called Anheuser-Busch. And so I worked for them for 26 years, and they moved me 10 times. So I moved my family around the whole western United States 10 different times. So I've lived all over, from Seattle to Idaho to Colorado, St. Louis twice, Arizona, and then back to St. Louis. So my tour of duty, as I like to call it sometimes, has taken me lots of different places. And finally, I left the company in 2005 at the request of a local distributor here in Arizona to come back to Arizona, because we'd lived here for 8 years and left, and they hired me to run their Casa Grande operation. And so that's how I came to Casa Grande. It was, and I committed to work for them for 10 years. And after those 10 years, I retired for about 2 months, and then was sitting around a table with a group of folks that were interested in trying to make Casa Grande better. And we were trying to figure out who was going to run for mayor, because the current mayor was Bob Jackson, was term limited, like I am today. And so I said, well, if you guys will help me, you guys and gals will help me, then I'll run for mayor. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. And so I ran for mayor and I won. And I've been mayor now for 8 years, so 4 different elections.
Wow. And so, you kind of shared some insight into this already, just kind of talking about that gathering around the table and saying, I'm going to run for mayor. When you first decided to run or about 8 or 9 years ago, could you walk us through what was sort of your the biggest motivating factor for you?
Well, I had just retired and was kind of exploring my options. What did I want to do? And I've always been a community person, and this is actually the first community I've actually put down roots and had a lot more interaction with. And so, becoming members of Rotary and becoming members of the Chamber of Commerce and doing all the events that I did for 10 years in the city of Casa Grande, and watching it grow and knowing that, my business background might be able to help the city, and I wanted to give back. And so I decided to run, and it's been an amazing experience. I have learned so much, from water to roads to infrastructure to wastewater treatment to politics, which I never thought myself as a politician, but if you work for a Fortune 50 company, there's always politics involved. So so when I first said I'm not a politician, I kind of had to take a step back and go, well, I've always been a politician, because I've always been, somehow you manage up and you manage down, and so that's kind of my background. And so I thought that by bringing a business acumen to this position, that I could help the city.
That's incredible. And so, 8 years, of course, it's a lengthy time to be in office. And I'm sure you've seen, we were talking off camera about this, I'm sure you've seen a lot about Casa Grande change. I think we all have in that time. But could you share, what would you say has been the most challenging thing for you about being, or the most challenging thing about being mayor for you over the last 8 years?
Probably 2 things. One would be water. So trying to find a solution to our water needs. And that's a continuing problem. I wouldn't say problem, but it's an opportunity for us to to find a solution, and I think we will. I believe that the water side, we will find a solution. The second would be the homelessness. Trying to tackle the homeless issue that we have. We're not bad. We're not like San Diego or LA or Phoenix even, right? So, but we do have a problem, and there's no easy solution. It's probably the single hardest thing that I've ever worked on, because there's no simple answer, and it's one of those things that's ongoing, and the person needs to want the help, and so that's really probably the single biggest challenge that I think we have as a city, is to try and find a solution to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mayor, I'm actually so glad you brought up the homelessness issue, because that was one of the things I was going to ask you about. You know, in your time as mayor, and I believe very early on, you played an integral part in developing that homeless task force here in Casa Grande. And so, you know, could you kind of give us some insight as to why you felt, obviously, you know, you mentioned it is an issue, but why you felt it was an issue you felt we needed to address here in Casa Grande, and kind of speak to, you know, what you know, not what benefit, but what you think, why you think it's so important to address that issue locally.
Well, you're right. We formed, and really it was Donna McBride and Lisa Fitzgibbons and myself, and really the three of us getting together and saying, you know, how can we have an impact on this homeless situation that we have, and so really it was the ladies' suggestion. You know what? Let's form a mayor's task force, because it would give it more emphasis, right? It would put some city importance on it, and so that's what we did. And with their help, we've been working at it now probably at least 6 years, maybe more, 7 years. It's been a long haul, and so we opened the CG Helps Center in Peart Park. So, you know, we have a place hopefully to send people to get resources. We've tried to stand up this I Help concept, which is where we work with the churches, local churches, and we have a place for them to stay overnight. They get a meal, they stay, there's showers, they stay overnight. But it's hard if they don't want to go. Yeah. You can't force them to go. And then we also were dealing with legal issues. There's some federal judgments that were handed down by some of the courts that said you can't kick people out of public spaces. So now that got overturned, so that's changed things. So now we're trying to reevaluate, you know, what can we do and what should we do. We can now tell people that they can't sleep in public places, but is that the right thing to do also? And so again, it's hard. Like I said, you know, it's just something that needed to be done. You can't just, you know, put your head in the sand and, you know, think that the problem isn't there. And so, but there's no easy solution, as I said earlier. I think that you know, we have some homeless that hang out in Peart Park. Do we have some businesses that don't like it? Absolutely. You know, I don't blame them. Do they wander downtown? Do we have issues in downtown with them sometimes? Yes. You know, but we also need to remind our businesses that, you know, if they do have issues, they need to call the police. And so our police department will come and they will help our businesses deal with, you know, issues if they have them with some of the homeless. Yeah, absolutely.
And so, you know, kind of switching gears a little bit, you know, among the key things you ran on when you first ran as mayor back in 2016 was wanting to continue to help lead the city's progress forward. You know, I think I read an article that, you know, when you were saying you felt like the city was in really good shape, but you just wanted to help continue that progress. And now thinking over the last 8 years, do you feel like you've accomplished that?
Yeah, I think so. I think with the help of council, I mean, it wasn't just me, it's the help of council with staff. Larry Raines took over as the city manager, like right when I was elected, right? So I was elected in August, but didn't take office until December. And he took over in September, right? September 1st. So we kind of came into this, although he was part of the city prior to, he wasn't the city manager. But as the city manager, he had control now. And so I think staff gets a huge pat on the back for the work they've done, as has our council. We've had a very good council, very collaborative group. I would say 99% of the time we all agree. There's a couple things we may not have agreed on, but we've worked it out. And I think we've been very collaborative. And so through all that collaboration, and when I first came on, Larry and I went and did a dog and pony show. We literally took our information and our data, and we went to all of the developers and all the builders up in Phoenix. We literally had two meetings that we held and talked to probably no less than 100 people and different organizations, and literally said, hey, we're here. Hello, Casa Grande is here and we're open for business. And then we listened to things that they told us that they had issues with. One of them was that they felt our impact fees were too high. They also felt that some of the requirements that we had on property, when they came in, they wanted to develop 1,000 homes, that they had to bond all 1,000 of the lots. So if they walked away, the city wouldn't be burdened with the infrastructure to finish those lots. Well, we decided through those conversations that we would change that. We would put it into sections. We would do it in pieces, right? So 3 parts, for example, divided up. So they only had to bond for one piece at a time. So that lowered their costs.
Yeah.
But just listening to them, we changed some of those things. And I think it's made a huge difference. I mean, we had one builder here in town when I took office. We have 10 now.
Yeah.
On building homes. We hadn't built an apartment complex in 20 years, and now we have almost 2,000 of them coming online. Our average family, the median family income was $54,000. Today it's $89,000. We have had population increases of 24% in the last 6 years. So, and all of the industry that has come in, we have, in the next 5 to 7 years, we'll have another probably 2,000 new jobs that are coming in. So it's really kind of ramped up, from 8 years ago to today. And in the last 6 years, we've really seen a lot of changes. All of the values of homes, and some of that's state driven, right? I mean, the state of Arizona has been a very good place to do business. We've changed our industrial makeup. We are now not totally reliant on home building. We have a mix of industry that's here that really is or has made us recession resistant. I won't say recession proof, but certainly has made us a more even economy. And so through all that economic development, through bringing in Kohler, through bringing in Lucid, even out in Coolidge and Procter & Gamble and Nikola out there, all of this has really happened in the last 6 years. So it's been good for our economy. It's been good for our community. It's brought in more business, and as we bring in more business, we bring in more sales tax. That gives the city more money to do things for our citizens.
Yeah.
And just so we're not costing the citizens money for these improvements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Mayor, so listening to you kind of explain some of these things, and of course we were talking off camera about how, 8 years is the max you can serve as mayor of Casa Grande. What's something, when you think about general public and people who may, down the line be thinking about, yeah, I think, I'd like to serve as mayor, or, I think that might be a calling that I'm interested in exploring. What's something you wish more people knew about the office of mayor?
Well, that it's not a job you take because you want to make money. Okay, so number one. Number two, it is a full-time job. The community of Casa Grande is now almost 74,000 people. And if we want to continue to see improvements in our community, we have to be out there. The mayor is the face of the city. And so being involved with the Greater Phoenix Economic Council, being involved with the Pinal Regional Transportation Authority, being involved with the Chamber of Commerce, being involved with other statewide agencies like the Mayor's Education Roundtable. All of these organizations put a face on the city of Casa Grande, and so the mayor is that face, and so it's a big job, and you have to have passion for it. So I know Lisa does. She'll be the next mayor. I know she'll do a good job, and so I'm trying to help her prepare for that. I'm working on a list of all the boards and commissions and committees that I've been on, but you have to be out there.
Yeah.
And you have to, I'm the cheerleader, for the city of Casa Grande. That's what I do. I speak at events, I speak on committees, I speak on, in this situation, so it's like, we're trying to make sure that we're on the map. And I think Casa Grande is on the map.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so the other thing I was going to ask you, kind of shifting gears, of course, you are going to be moving on to Pinal Partnership. And, what's something, for you, after looking at, I've been here 8 years, what would you say was kind of the big reason why you felt like Pinal Partnership was the next right step for you?
Well, after being in this job for 8 years, I've had the opportunity to really educate myself on water and infrastructure, roads, government policy, and I think this is a great opportunity for me to continue to do that. So, I've put a lot of effort into it. I have a lot of contacts. My phone contact list is pretty extensive, and I have relationships with our government officials, from our state level, senators and legislators to our federal legislators and senators. So having all that knowledge and having all of that experience, I think I can then take that on and move to Pinal Partnership and continue with the things that I've been working on, but now maybe working on them on more of a county-wide basis. Because I think Pinal County is positioned really to be the next epicenter for the state of Arizona. Quite frankly, Phoenix is running out of space, and so the natural move, I think, is to come down into Pinal County. It's happening now.
Yeah.
So, we just need to be prepared for it, and I think by leading the Pinal Partnership, I can lead a group of stakeholders that have interest in Pinal County, municipalities and the county included, along with everything from attorneys' offices to landowners, right? So, and everything in between. And so it's a great opportunity, I think, to continue doing what I've been doing, and help the county and the city of Casa Grande. I will always have, a spot in my heart for Casa Grande. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. So just 2 more questions for you. When you think about your time as mayor and everything you've accomplished, and of course all the challenges that we've discussed as well, and you think about just the time you've spent in this office and the work that you've done, What do you hope other people will take away from your story?
Well, obviously, I hope that people take away the fact that I left Casa Grande better than I found it when I became mayor, and that my passion for the city is truly there. I certainly didn't do it for money, and so in some of the challenges that we've faced, having an epidemic, that we had to live through, the city never shut down. We continued to operate, and so I've never lived through anything like it, nor have I think most of us, and so I wouldn't wish it on anybody, because there was no easy solutions in that whole thing. Whatever you did, you pissed off half the people, or you made half the people happy.
Yeah.
So there was no middle ground in that whole situation, and so that I think we handled well as well as we could, and really just the things that we've accomplished. When I say we, I'm talking about the council and staff, because without them you can't do anything. And so the opportunity really has been there for us to, I think, make a difference, and that's the biggest part. I know when I first started, we had 3 big projects. We had Phoenix Mart, we had Dreamport Village, and we had Lucid. And Larry and I looked at each other and said, if one of those lands, then we're good.
Yeah.
Then we're good to go, and it's going to be a game changer for the city. Mm-hmm. So one of them did land. So it's really, Lucid has helped put us on the map. They're a big impact in our community, and they've helped us, I think, land other projects here. And then TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Company, coming into Phoenix. Now we have 6 of their support industries here. A couple of them actually have broken ground and are going vertical. We've got other companies that are in support of those companies. So it's kind of mushrooms, right? You get one and then it just kind of explodes. And so I see that continuing. I think we have right now probably 2,500 acres on our west side that are in play in terms of new development for industry, which means that's going to impact our industry, our need for housing, and those 2,000 apartments I think are going to fill up, but we still need more new single-family housing. In Pinal County alone, there's almost $13 billion in capital expenditure that's being put into the county today. That will happen over the next 7 years. That's 12,000 new jobs, and we're going to probably see a majority of that. It's going to be here. We are the epicenter of the industrial jobs.
Wow, that's incredible. And it's incredible to think about when you think about how far Casa Grande
where we came from.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing.
From a little community, 1879, called Terminus, because the railroad ended here, to now, taking on the ruins, the name of the ruins of Casa Grande, and then now growing to the community that we are today. So
yeah, it is. I agree with you. It's incredible. So one last question for you, Mayor. And I tell everybody that's on the show this. It's a mission that we have to ask all of our guests this question, and I'm super excited to hear what you have to say. So, if you can imagine a future where you've accomplished everything you set out to do as mayor, and now into your next journey with Pinal Partnership, if you imagine a future many, many years from now where you're just going to be sitting back, you're ready to take a step back, and everything you set out to do, you did. What does that future look like to you?
Well, number one, I'm not sure that I will ever just sit back. It's not in my nature. I can barely sit down and watch a football game to its conclusion, so without getting up and doing something. And not that I have ADHD, but maybe I do, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the future for the city of Casa Grande is bright. I think financially it's in good shape. It's been in good shape for a long time. It was in good shape when I arrived. It's just now we've grown it. And I hope that the future leaders of the community continue to grow Casa Grande and not take an anti-growth attitude. I think that's a mistake. I think it's important that we continue to grow, manage it, but continue to grow. There's still a lot of work to be done on water. There's a lot of work to be done on I-10 widening. And that's a whole nother story that we could talk about. But, my goal is to continued improvement. And so as I get older, I look at my grandkids, I look at my children, and want to make sure that we leave it better than we found it. And I think that's my ultimate goal, is really to leave it better, and to find more things for our community to do. We need to find things for our young people to do, not just sports related, which I think we have good sports programs, but there's other things that we could do too. EIA sports, all the gaming, there's the robotics, there's the whole, the whole education programming that I think we can continue to work on. I will continue to be pushing that. I'll continue to push our education system, even in my new role. And so, because I took a very active role as mayor, trying to make sure that we, did promote our education system, because we have to. That's our future. And so, I think that moving forward, my hope is that everybody contributes, and everybody's part of the solution and not part of the problem. And I don't think we have issues. We have some things that we need to work on and things we can improve on, but I look at them as opportunities. I don't look at them as a problem. So continue to collaborate, continue to lead. Hopefully our leaders will follow in that suit.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Mayor. Mayor Craig McFarland.
Thank you.